Well, baby, we're live. Welcome to Tokyo Crypto Show, episode 108. I am PCR negative MLD, live from Japanese quarantine gulag. For you guys that's not been keeping up on what's going on with me on my channel, somehow I tested positive for the coronavirus upon entry to Japan, and I was seized at the airport and taken to this quarantine hotel where I have had no symptoms and no fever, no cough, nothing. And I've been here since December 30th. It is now January 5th, and I am promised to go home tomorrow. I took my first PCR test to become negative this morning, which I was begging them for me to take it since arrival. And I have to take one more test tomorrow morning. And then from there, if I'm negative, then I can get discharged. So I think it ties in perfectly with today because we're going to be talking about PulseX, and one of their, statements in their decree is freedom of movement, freedom of assembly. And so we wanted kind of to tie in what's really happening with me. For all you guys that are freedom fighters and patriots and whatnot, I have been raising hell and making every moment of these people's lives absolute hell. So I got that going for me, but it's terrible. Just so you guys know, I haven't had I have not been outside since December 30th, and I've been eating cold bento food served to me. I haven't had warm food since I left the airplane, and even that was gross because it's airplane food. So pretty inhumane conditions that I'm being kept in here, and it is what it is. But this is why cryptocurrency is so important. We really want to empower people to be free and have their own. Like, I would understand if I had a temperature and I was coughing and like gagging all over the place, but I'm like completely healthy. And they're like, oh, like you've tested positive, so you have to like go to this concentration camp. But anyways, I'm here with Charlie. Charlie, what's up, man?
That was upon entry into Japan, right? Like when you were in the States, like you didn't have, because I remember looking at the Tokyo embassy for the United States Twitter or whatever. They were saying like, yeah, for anybody coming back from the holidays for the States would need to self quarantine, but not be like forced quarantine, which is what you got.
So
right?
there's multiple tiers now due to the Omicron variant. If you come back to Japan from the United States, no matter where you are, you have to be quarantined in a hotel for 6 days, no matter what, just in case you have like the Omicron variant, which apparently is killing people now or whatever, or I don't know. But I mean, weren't we supposed to be all dead in 2020?
Like, yep, it's supposed to be some Resident Evil shit, basically, it spreads like wildfire. But hey, it sucks, but it's good that you're almost through that. And you'll be back in Tokyo soon.
Yeah, well, so the thing is, I think it ties in perfectly with today's episode. I agree with the black gentleman who says these government clowns are jokes, and yeah. So we're just gonna. I'm not trying to like make this depressing or sad or whatever, but we've been broadcasting to you guys and telling you the truth for 2 consecutive years, and that's not going to stop anytime soon. So we're just letting you know what's happening, because this is not like a child's play game Charlie and I are doing with YouTube. Like, we are meeting real people. For guys that went to Hot Dude Con in San Diego, you actually got to meet Dollar Cost Crypto. Miguel came in there, he spoke. There was over 60 something people at the event. Me and Miguel hung out. We went and saw Spider-Man, me, him, and Googs. And it was awesome. And then we went out with John Fitch and had some drinks. And, we just like, it was like me, Miguel, Googs, and UFC fighter John Fitch. And like, hanging out, drinking, having a good time, talking about crypto, talking about how we hated the government. It was a great time. So you know, it's great, and I think it's perfectly on time for the crypto mindset course, which is launching on January 10th. And you know, we told you guys what was going to happen in 2021, and there was a lot of money. There's literally millions of dollars made, and so that's not going to change anytime soon. It's the only thing is it's probably going to be tens of millions this year. So we're here for you guys. Obviously, I'm here. Don't even need to be here, but like, you know, because I could just be sitting in this hotel room feeling sorry for myself. But you know, we're here. We're here to help you guys out. And yeah, we're gonna talk about PulseX today. Charlie, I've been rambling. Sorry, that's because I've been isolated and feeling like a psychopath since December 30th. I brought in the new year. You know that?
Yeah. No, I know.
It's not the room is so dry. It makes me cough.
Yeah, in Japan, right? We have these air conditioners, right? They don't have like central heating systems a lot like other systems, so or a lot like the West.
I don't have air conditioning in here.
Oh, they don't have that either? Jesus Christ.
No, I'm not allowed to touch my air conditioning. I'm not allowed to do anything. I'm just gotta suffer.
Oh shit. Yeah, well, that is different. But yeah, anyways, like yeah, a lot of Japanese buildings aren't necessarily the best when it comes to that. So yeah, it gets you dry pretty good. But anyways,
yeah.
No, it's good to see that you're plugging through it and jumping on air.
Oh yeah,
and yeah, we're here to help people out and discuss this because yeah, I mean, we've had our ups and downs in the relationship with Hex as well, and so we could be like, oh, we're not going to talk about anything related to that.
I'm a Hexkin. I got Hex. I got a fat Hex bag.
Yeah, exactly. So we're here to just kind of we're not shying away from any subjects. We're just here to kind of call it like we see it, and we'll adjust our opinions over time based on what we see. And I really like what's going on with PulseX, right? I titled today's episode 4 days left for the PulseX. Don't miss out. There is more than 4 days before you can obviously get into PulseX after January 10th, but in terms of getting the best deal on your coins and getting the most coins possible, now is the time to be getting into it. And so that's what I wanted to talk about today. But then also, I mean, the other thing which I thought was kind of interesting about the market since we last talked on the Tokyo Crypto Show back in, I think it was like late December, or sorry, no, maybe mid-December, right? Like the 14th or something. We were talking about potentially having a bet, will Bitcoin be at 42K at the end of the year, or will it be up at 58K? That was like the extremes that we're talking about. Of course, neither happened. It was just basically sat between 46 and 40 and 50K.
Well, let's be honest. You chickened out of the bet. Let's be honest.
Well, what are you talking about?
I told you end of year. I told you end of year. I don't think we're going to see a blow off.
$1,000 that Bitcoin would be at 42K. And if you got that, I'd give you $1,000. If it was at 55K, you'd give me $1,000. But neither would have happened anyway, so it would have been a wash.
Better chance of the Vikings going to playoff than that happening.
I was going to say it about the Cowboys, but they're actually going this year.
They are. Old Mike McCarthy. We're doing something finally.
No, Mike McCarthy's proved himself. He could do it in more than one place. It wasn't just that he had Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback. He's managed to put up a pretty good team. The defense is solid too. So I think you guys have Micah Pearson. I think he's a rookie this year, linebacker. He's been tearing it up. So yeah, if there's any team in the NFC, I guess I either got to root for the Cowboys or Matthew Stafford, one of the two. If I'm rooting for the AFC, I guess I'll go with Derrick Henry and the Titans, or maybe Stephon Diggs and the Bills. But yeah, those are my 4 teams that I would.
But yeah,
winning.
I want to do a quick I told you so to the guys. I hope you guys got in, and I don't know if I'm cutting in and out here, Charlie, but let me know.
You're a little delayed. You're not cutting in and out. You're just, I think we're a little bit delayed just because of whatever internet connection they're giving you there.
Yeah, I'm on like government Wi-Fi. But no, I hope you guys got in and out with the spell token burn. Because it looks like it peaked to 2.5 cents on the 3rd, where we were telling you to get in. I was noticing to get in at 0.015 cents. There are people, who have made, a couple $1,000 quickly. People have made quick 6 figures. And so, now spells like a pretty much stable at 2 cents, which is, I think it's pretty good. I know you did a show yesterday. You did a great show yesterday talking about the Fantom network. And I think like between Andre and Danielle, these guys are the only ones really moving something right now in crypto. Everything else has been pretty stagnant, right?
Yeah, they're actually trying to like put a little bit of like a defibrillator to crypto right now. Just like, hey, let's shake some stuff up and see what happens. I mean, obviously Richard Hart with PulseX is doing his thing, but PulseX in terms of being live won't really come out until maybe April-ish. I mean, it's all undetermined when it's going to come out.
Right.
So yeah, in terms of like active projects that are moving around and stuff like that, I would say, what's going on in the Fantom ecosystem is pretty exciting right now. And yet to end the year, and to begin the year, crypto is just boring. So it's awesome to see. I think Fantom earlier today was like $3.10. I haven't seen where it is like in the last few hours, but
it's $3.06. I'm actually looking at it right now. $3.06 right now. The high for the 24-hour is $3.15.
nice.
So
at the beginning of December, it was like I think like the high dollar range or something like that. So it's done like basically a double since then.
Nice. I think that with what we have going on here, I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but I would not be shocked to see Fantom breaking an all-time high here.
Yep.
I wouldn't be shocked if I saw it within the month of January. I love the way this year is starting already. I mean, we know people that are up $360,000 net profit, $170,000 net profit, and it's only the 5th day in January. So, the network is strong, and the network is, and the haters are just going to get quiet, more and more quiet, because that's the right they have as peasants.
Yeah, well,
silence.
And even if even if they come out to roost every once in a while, I mean that's nothing but a free publicity. So it is what it is, right? So if you don't have haters in crypto, you ain't doing anything in this space. So I think Andre talking about Fantom a little bit and talking about YFI and all the stuff that he's been building. He's been one of the most active people in developing new things in crypto throughout this bull market, right? He's had a huge influence on the yield that's been coming about in crypto since the summer of 2020 with the DeFi space. So he's been one of the smarter people among that area. And yeah, I mean, it's the same with everything in crypto, all these guys are going to get haters because they're trying to shake it up. They're trying to disrupt the financial system. They're trying to disrupt the crypto system as well as it currently is. So, but it's interesting to see, how this bull market is panning out. And I think it's very different from what people expected. And that's actually a good thing because it gives us more opportunities. The more that we're paying attention to what's happening, the more you can, ride the waves, ride the trends, and continue to make money. So I think there's some people, they only come back to crypto when the price is like extremely, volatile. It's like when you get that, 2x on Bitcoin within like a month or a quarter. Then people are like, oh my God, everybody comes back at that time and buys the top, which is dumb. But it's the people who consistently are like the value investors looking at, okay, what has moved thus far? What's on a pullback? What can I get cheaper than I could get it a few months ago? Right. And continue to stack basically. So, yeah, it's it's one of these things where it's like we've technically had two mini bear markets within the crypto, within Bitcoin specifically, since 2019, right? We had that in the second half of 2019. Then we had that. I mean, you argue we had that for like a couple months after the pandemic crash, and then we had the one last summer. And then I guess you can argue that we're having one now. But these like kind of pullback periods each time, what I'm noticing with the altcoins is they're kind of getting stronger and stronger and stronger. A lot of capital is flowing. I mean, it's still flowing into Bitcoin and Ethereum because that's where people are entering the market through, but it's flowing more so towards these layer ones and ecosystem tokens, like Pulse Chain, like Fantom, Avalanche, Terra Luna, Polkadot, all these things. And we're starting to see that crypto, as it gets more diversified, right, becomes stronger because it's more distributed and it's not so reliant on Bitcoin pumping. So even though Bitcoin hasn't really done anything in the last maybe like 3 weeks, or almost 4 weeks, Fantom's still pumping good. Hex is doing pretty well. Did a 2x since that time. And we're still making money. So that's fantastic. Oh, I think you muted yourself.
Yeah, we're out here. We're printing, baby. Free money for all. That's the next shirt I'm just gonna wear. It's just gonna say free money on it.
Nice. So I could jump into just like a quick look at the Bitcoin Ethereum chart if you want me to do that, and then we can take a look at Hex and then just describe what PulseX is, what Pulse Chain is, and why there's a pretty short window of an opportunity here for anybody else who wants to still get in.
Definitely. You want to pull up some charts? Let's do it. You're gonna have to like take the wheel here because my connection just
I can tell.
Shit.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Just on the back end, you can allow me to put up. Can you see that?
Yeah, full screen.
Okay, cool. This is what we got going on with Bitcoin. Not the prettiest of movement here since this big dip back on December 4th, right? We had the dip here, and then Bitcoin's basically just been range bound between $52,000 and $45,000 ever since then. So it's taken its sweet old time to get moving. But the one thing that's kind of interesting about this is that Bitcoin has a solid floor right now at the $45,500 mark, even though there's been, not a lot going on with it. It hasn't broken that level quite yet. So we're here. But I guess the best way to look at this, one way to look at this is, okay, why has this happened for Bitcoin and why is it kind of slowing down the crypto market? One way to look at it is this whole bull market has been a venture capitalist and institutional based market, meaning getting Bitcoin to get up this high. There's been pockets of times when retail traders have been active in crypto, and that's usually when the altcoins start going really, really well. But for the most part, I would say you have people who've been in crypto for a while, the normal retail traders in that sense, but not in terms of like you haven't had a horde or a mass movement of people into Bitcoin or crypto outside of maybe the spring of 2021. So, and that was when the price, if I just zoom out a little bit, that was when the price, was screaming up real good. And the price had already been going up for about a year before that period, right? We had the Corona crash back here. The price of Bitcoin had been going up pretty steady. And it wasn't really until this time here where the retail traders, your normal everyday Joe, probably your friends who don't usually talk about crypto, might have started talking about crypto. And this time, because you got Tesla buying, Bitcoin and putting it on its balance sheet around that time. And so then, that's when you kind of saw the older money starting to take profits. But we have the opposite situation right now, actually, after we had that crash. We had the price coming up here very steadily since the summer. We actually have the opposite situation where this move to the upside a lot of the strong hands, the institutions, the VCs, they weren't selling a whole lot during this period. They were selling here for sure. They were taking some profits, but during this period here, they weren't selling all that much. So the only people really selling this top here and then also selling this price down have been people who are basically have the weak hands, right? The people who maybe they got in up here, right? And they're trying to protect themselves around this area here. And they don't really understand crypto. They don't understand Bitcoin. They're not in this for the long term. And then, so since December, in terms of, if you look at it from an institutional perspective, right? December, they're trying to, let's say you're a hedge fund, for example, your hedge fund that you got into Bitcoin, right? You've been in it the entire year. You got in it, let's say, just say the 1st of January or sometime in this area here around $30,000, right? You want to make sure that you secure your gain during that period of time. So yeah, some of those institutions may have been selling off. Some tax loss harvesting was probably taking place for some people as well. There was a little bit too much leverage in the system, as we got up to this peak here. So the leverage obviously was one of the reasons for the big wick to the downside. So those are a lot of the reasons why we had more of a pullback than I guess people expected over the end of the last 60-day cycle. And it's also the reason why we haven't really been moving back up yet, because when these hedge funds or organizations, right, want to, secure their profits, they're not going to be buying, or they're not going to be doing any active trading during the month of December for the most part. So that's what we saw. Bitcoin didn't really move all that much. And then, they're barely getting started just now. So I'm suspecting by the middle of this month, right, we'll start to have some more price action. And the question right now is, do they dump? Do they pump? Right? The people who have maybe a little bit more money in this market than the normal average everyday Joe. And right now we're right in the middle of, does it pump or does it dump? There's really no way to know until it happens. So the basic line in the sands are, if Bitcoin goes below $45,000, we likely hit a low that's below the current cycle low. We have what we would say is a neutral to bearish 60-day cycle, meaning we have the high here on day 23 of the 60-day cycle. The middle of the 60-day cycle is here on day 30, and we don't surpass that high. That is the bearish scenario, and that's if people wanted to suppress the price of Bitcoin to buy cheaper Bitcoin, essentially, to start the year. That is one scenario. The other scenario is we pump up, we regain this. Sorry?
I think that it's the beginning of the year. The more that these bastards get involved, institutionalized investors, the more price manipulation we're going to deal with. And also they're all boomers, and the only thing they know to manipulate is Bitcoin, because they're too retarded to learn how to use Spooky Swap and Tomb Finance, etc. And so they're late to the whole party. Well, literally millions and millions and millions are being made on small individual DEX projects, even stuff like DeFi kingdoms or whatever. It seems probable that they are dumping this price down pretty hard, because this thing's been dumping since, what is that long wick down there? That's end of December, yeah. No,
early December,
sorry.
December 4th.
Sorry, candle, not wick, the candle. Couple
this right. One here.
Yeah, that one. When is that? That's December 28th, eh?
Yep.
Yeah.
And so there's not really anything to be going on at the end of the year. So basically, this is essentially people taking a break, and the exchange is taking that time to push down the price to get rid of leverage longs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
But yeah, so yeah, we'll see. Instead of trying to predict what's going to happen, we just wait and watch. And if there's anybody out there who essentially can't hold any of the coins that they're holding as Bitcoin goes below 45,000 and then down to 42, maybe $40,000 in that region, if you're not comfortable holding the positions you're holding, right, it's probably time to de-risk yourself out of those positions. Now, the other flip side of the coin that I was going to mention was we have this 200-day moving average right here, which we did come up above for a bit here, and then usually there is a mid-cycle low coming into day 30. So we really need to see either just a pump or a dump, right? This kind of chopping sideways ranging action probably isn't going to fly for too much longer, in my opinion. But this does, if we do have the high up here, right, already in this 60-day cycle, it reminds me of this area around here, but like to a much lesser degree, meaning, yeah, we didn't really go any lower in the 60-day cycle. We just had a pump and then just kind of sideways to down action. And then we had a nice rip to the upside. And so I could see something like that playing out pretty simply, right? We just kind of dump below here. We kind of just, just kind of flounder around here till the end of January, get some nice discounts on pretty much everything. And then, starts coming up again from there. That would be not too surprising. But yeah, the positive situation right now would be Bitcoin would have to come back above this area here, 48,000. Then it would have to come back above 52,000. And then it would basically, I think the best it's going to do by the end of January, going into the end of the current 60-day cycle, would be in the high 50K, mid to high 50K range. And that, has been a pretty tall task for Bitcoin here in the last few, in the last month, in the last few weeks. So I think more people are waiting for the downside rather than the upside at the current moment.
Yeah, it seems like retail is just like out of the game right now.
Oh yeah, they're totally like they had Christmas, New Year's. Yeah, they're not jumping in. But the one interesting thing is if I pull up coin market cap. So we were talking about Fantom doing pretty well, right? So Fantom's here on the week is up 37%. Cosmos Atom is up 48%. So we do have some of these coins, I would say, in the top 100 that, are getting some retail speculation because the people that run those communities or influence those communities in terms of, the big people in the space, like you were mentioning, Andre and Danielle, those people, right, they're bringing some attention to these tokens. And so there is some retail activity, but it's mainly in the top coins. You can see Chainlink here doing the same thing. It's not, if you go down to the shit coins down in anywhere out of the top 100 and beyond, if you even just look at like what's been moving, there's not huge percentage gains or losses. And whereas if we look at the top 100, you have more gains among the top 100 coins. So people are being a little bit, the retail that is here, they are being a little bit risky, but they're not really, they're not venturing too far off the beaten path. They're sticking with the layer ones, because the layer ones, those like Solana, Luna, Fantom, Hex, and other things like this, which is going into Pulse Chain, and other coins like this. These are the ones that had the most success in 2021 and that people are betting on having the most success in 2022 as well, because they did outpace Ethereum and Bitcoin. So I think the retail that is here, they're taking some nibbles here and there. That's about it. So anyways, with Bitcoin, really it was just kind of a wait and see game. And so therefore with Ethereum, it's also the same wait and see game. Ethereum looks actually a little bit more bearish than Bitcoin right now. Just meaning that it did break. You can consider that it broke its downwards trend line just as Bitcoin did, but hasn't really done anything since then. But Ethereum actually had a low here, then had a slightly lower low, whereas Bitcoin had a low here and didn't quite go below it quite yet. So Ethereum, right, had been looking stronger for a bit during that flash crash, but actually starting to kind of give back against Bitcoin ever so slightly. But if I again go and take a look at the Bitcoin dominance, right? Bitcoin is just on the precipice of breaking that support line of its absolute lows in dominance since the last bull market. So,
wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that's really good for the altcoins, right? Because obviously it's good for Bitcoin too, because right when we saw Bitcoin dominance decrease below 90% for the first time in 2017, what happened? Bitcoin went to new all-time highs, did a 10x plus, and altcoins, took off, right? And so we've seen this good run here that altcoins had in the early part of 2021, and if this breaks below 39% and Bitcoin basically comes to 35%, and then eventually maybe in the spring breaks below the previous all-time low and just starts going down pretty heavily, right? If Bitcoin dominance goes down to, let's say, 30, 35%, the altcoins are going to take off massively.
Yeah.
So that's pretty exciting.
I think we're like, I think this is just going to be more so the norm. I really don't think we're going to see Bitcoin dominance shoot back up to, I mean, we're going to need an army of retail to move this upwards. Am I wrong?
Well, the one thing Bitcoin has for it, right, is that because it's the thing that's proven itself and it's less risky for larger players. So you're going to get the corporations that have to get into Bitcoin, the nations like El Salvador that are getting into Bitcoin, the so governments, nations, corporations, and large institutions and individuals, they're going to get into Bitcoin because it is performing better than traditional assets like gold, the S&P 500, and a lot of other things. So they're going to feel like they're taking a pretty big risk going into Bitcoin, and maybe they might dabble in Ethereum. Bloomberg was recently talking about Bitcoin. Their head commodities strategist was saying, yeah, Bitcoin, is the main thing we're looking at, Ethereum a little bit, and then stable coins because they know the central bank digital currencies are coming. So those are really the only three things they're paying attention to. They don't really watch, like you said, like they don't know how to use Spooky Swap. They don't know anything else. I would say the other thing that VCs are looking at a lot is Solana, just because, they got in early on that. Binance Chain's actually performed very, very well in this bull market. But yeah, just generally speaking, outside of like, let's say the top 5 coins, there's not really, institutions aren't going into these so deeply because they don't understand them. So, Bitcoin dominance has we've seen this mainly go up during bear markets. And in this bull market, right, from September of 2020 to the end of 2020, it went up for a short period of time. So yeah, you're going to get some buy pressure on Bitcoin a little more than the altcoins, only when you kind of need to inject some confidence into the market. But for right now, we're so late in the bull market stage that it's pretty much time for mainly focusing on alts.
Yeah, it's looking good, man. It's looking it's looking real good. I think I did you watch Bob Lucas's recent video?
I may have seen the one at like late December or something.
One came. I don't know if it was late December, but I think I think it possibly was late December. So it's the talk about fear and whatnot.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, he's still expecting like a 140K blow off top for Bitcoin.
Yeah, I would say that would be within very much the realm of possibility. So right now, I would say if Bitcoin were to like shoot up right now, basically the highest it would go, like within like, let's say 2 or 3 months, would be probably about 80 to 100, maybe 105K before probably a lot of people take heavy profits on it. But if we were to get, up to, let's say 100K within the first half of this year, get a bit of a pullback there, something like 150K, through a sustained growth period for Bitcoin, is very possible within this bull market. 200K right now, I think, is starting to become a little bit more of a stretch.
Yeah,
but yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we're gonna see what's going on for sure. Do we want to do anything else? We got Bitcoin, we got Ethereum.
Yeah, the only other thing I guess that I wanted to mention, just talking about the overall market, is this is why we're calling 2022 the year of taking profits, because I think in 2021 it was about gaining yield, growing your coins, aka cultivating crypto, compounding your crypto, stuff like that, and we're still doing that in 2022 with all these ecosystems like Pulse Chain, Fantom, and so on. But I think this year, you want to at least be de-risked in your crypto positions, right? It doesn't mean you can't be a new person coming into this market. You definitely can be. You just have to understand, where the risk is. I do still think Bitcoin is undervalued right now. And so it still is a good time for somebody who's newer to the market to be able to get in. But for the people who've been in the market for, let's say, 4 to 6 months, right? once we get some good upwards trend going here in the spring, then that's a time to at least de-risk your position, make sure that all you're holding is casino chips, pure profit, and you've taken your original investment out. And so that's what we're going to focus on in the crypto mindset course coming out here on, like you said, January 10th. We're also going to be doing a webinar during your men's course that you have going on as well, right?
Right. So yeah, the Masculine Empowerment Network is going to start its educational webinars actually on the 10th as well, but the enrollment is already closed, and Charlie will be speaking to all the private members on Wednesday, January 12th at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be doing a private members only consultation. There will probably be close to 300 people in that group. So if you signed up for the Masculine Empowerment Network, you will get primary access directly to Charlie to have a conversation with him. So if you joined the Masculine Empowerment Network at any point during 2020 or recently with the most recent enrollment that we've had, you get access to this 100% for free. Later that week, we'll also, actually the next morning, we also have Aaron Clary coming in, and he's going to be doing a finance Q&A. So you can really just get yourself pointed in the right direction in regards to where you want to go with 2022. Don't live a wayward life like the majority of people out there who are aping into Shiba Inu. So, because those people are out there, they're real.
Yeah, exactly. And so, and I can't wait for that. Your courses always provide a lot of value. You get a lot of different types of speakers in there helping all men who, are trying to improve themselves with, like you say, money, muscles, and game. And so, we're going to come in there, focus on the money aspect with, crypto and stuff like that. But we might be able to give a little bit of a sneak peek, of what we're doing in the crypto mindset course in that webinar without giving, too much away. Because, we're taking profits, but you can also take profits in this market and you can roll them into other things that are still young in this bull market, right? So we'll talk about PulseX here today because the sacrifice has started, right? And we got the countdown 4 more days until basically the rate increase happens. And we'll describe what that is here after a bit. But we're also going to be looking at GameFi, right? GameFi is one of these things that I think people still don't even know what that is. I've mentioned this to people in crypto and they're like, what's GameFi? It's like, well, it's like game finance. Some of that is related to the metaverse, but not all of it. And in the last course, when we were looking at Illuvium was a good one that people got into, and it's been quote unquote crashing here, in the last couple of days. And during the course, everybody was getting in on this when it was all the way down at this kind of flat level here, about $450, $500. And so even though it's crashed here for a bit, people are still on a 2x, right? And the people who are staking their Illuvium and earning on there are, compounding their Illuvium like crazy. This is just one of the things that we talked about in the last Q4 crypto mindset course with GameFi that I think is going to be really big in 2022. But then we also have like projects that are very, very new in the gaming space that we'll be talking about. So there's a lot of new stuff coming out in crypto this year. So take profits, roll them into new projects that are going to have, that you can be relatively early on, bring up your crypto bags that way as well. So there's a lot of opportunity there. So anyways, if you want to jump on the waiting list, you can come over here to Charlie at you can come over here to cryptomindsetcourse.com, which I threw in the chat. And then you can put your best email address in here. There's over 500 people who've already signed up since the beginning of December and are on the waiting list. Like John mentioned, the enrollment begins on January 10th, so you can pay the $997 one time for the course. January 21st will be the first day of webinars, and January 16th, the enrollment period will be closed. So get in during that next week. We'll also be doing some shows with you, John, so your community can make sure to pay you back for all the value that you've given and support you through your affiliate link and stuff like that as well. So for anybody who's wanting to do that with John, we'll talk about that next week. But Yeah, so get in or have fun staying poor is essentially the motto here. But yeah, so that's what we got going on. It's going to be a fun one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
shout out to Tell Me Something Dude, 5 looks like euros with just the comment awesome, and then tap 2. Guys, don't forget to send a donation to my channel, the MLD PCR negative fund. So I can eat something beyond government issued ramen.
that's funny.
Yeah, government ramen has been making my stomach hurt lately. No, but just joking, guys. But tap 2, $5 super chat. Trying to farm Fantom on Spooky. I hold my Fantom on Ethereum main. Should I switch it to Fantom Network on my wallet? Will doing that affect my airdrop for Pulse Fantom? I don't know if it's going to affect that, but you do have to bridge it. You're going to have to bridge your Ethereum-based Fantom to the Opera network, the Fantom Opera network.
Hold yeah. So yeah, if you anything that you want to get on Pulse Chain, basically has to be on the Ethereum-based form to get the airdrop on the Pulse Chain site, because they're only airdropping Ethereum-based related tokens.
Mm-hmm.
Just to answer the second
Cool.
part of that question.
Here we go. So yeah, let's just jump into it. Let's talk about what we're going to talk about today.
All right, cool. So yeah, let's discuss Pulse Chain. I'll pull up the Pulse Chain website to talk about this as well. Easy, love it.
I know I was eating powdered corn soup the other day on stream.
Yeah, that stuff's good actually, though.
Oh god.
Isn't there there's like corn soup in a can that they sell you on the vending machines here in Japan? I always think that's hilarious.
Oh yeah, there's something. Look, tell me something, dude. 10 euros says food. Thank you so much. I hope that went to my channel.
Oh, it is. It definitely is. It's not on my side.
Okay, cool. Anyways, yeah, go ahead, Charlie. Let's talk about PulseX. What is PulseX?
So PulseX is the version of Uniswap that's on the Pulse Chain ecosystem. And so to kind of take it one step back, right? Pulse Chain is basically a fork of Ethereum via Binance Chain. Mm-hmm. So Richard Hart was, looking at the high fees that are on Ethereum. And because right now, when you try to go on like Uniswap, for example, right, you will incur, anywhere of a fee of $30 to, $500, depending on what you're trying to do there. And so, yeah, when you do that on Ethereum, you can't do anything with a decent fee. So you can do things with decent fees on chains like Solana, on chains like Fantom, and so on and so forth. But Richard Hart wanted to create, an ecosystem that would incentivize Ethereum-based projects to come over onto Pulse Chain, so that they would have a better fee situation. Just PulseX is so the Pulse Chain, the Pulse token is the main token of the Pulse Chain ecosystem. A lot of hex has been sacrificed for that. And what that means is back last summer, Richard Hart, in order to increase the amount of liquidity and the amount of tokens that will be out in the market at the very beginning of when Pulse Chain comes out, he basically said, hey, if you guys want your Pulse Chain tokens, come take your hex or any other ERC20 tokens, sacrifice them for Pulse Chain. And then when Pulse Chain comes out, you will get those Pulse Chain tokens for the main token in the ecosystem, but you'll also get a copy of your ERC20 tokens. So anybody who's holding Hex, or let's say, here you have Chainlink, Shiba Inu, any of the, or even Wise token, any of these coins, right? You'll get a version on Pulse Chain so that you can interact on Pulse Chain with cheaper fees. And so PulseX is the next version of Uniswap, basically on their ecosystem. But there's quite a few differences, not just the lower fees.
When you say their ecosystem, is this going to be like a Fantom Opera network, like an Ethereum mainnet, and then
exactly?
Okay, and the name of it is what? The Pulse ecosystem?
Yeah, Pulse Chain.
And this is going to be available on MetaMask?
Yep, exactly. So just like you do with your Fantom, you press on your MetaMask, you press change network. And then you go over to the Fantom network, or if you're using Matic, you go over to the Matic network. Same with Pulse Chain here. You'll just put that in, and you'll be able to go to the Pulse Chain network on your MetaMask and have it all functional there. And so the difference here with this and a lot of other tokens or a lot of other ecosystems is you're literally getting these coins at zero. So if you took part of the Pulse Chain sacrifice back in July, then you sacrifice some of your hex, which for most people, right, was gains, right? So a lot of people are getting into hex, below 10 cents or below a penny, sacrifice it at, 15, 20 cents. And then you get your Pulse Chain tokens once the Pulse Chain comes live. But I think there's been a lot of people who didn't really understand it at the time that it was talked about last summer. And so since a lot more people understand it now, they're like, shit, I missed the Pulse Chain launch, but I still want to get, some access to this ecosystem before. I don't want to buy it once it's on the open market, once it's a live chain. I just want to, I want another chance. And so Richard Hart was like, okay, well, we have the DEX coming out for Pulse chain called PulseX. And so we'll do another sacrifice for that. And it was also during a period of time where Hex has a lot of stakes coming out, meaning the people who were staking Hex, they get their rewards coming out often between late November through February. And so if you look at the timing of the Pulse Chain sacrifice, right, the sacrifice was here in late December as a lot of the stakes were coming out. So people can literally just, essentially burn their hex by sending it to this smart contract address. And that reduces the amount of hex that is in circulation. And it has actually, if you just kind of take a look here at the hex price, right, it's made the hex price. It was coming down after, September. It had a peak here at about 51 cents. And then it came back down here to 11 cents on a larger pullback. And so that decrease of supply on the market basically has pushed the price up back again. So it is making the hex price more valuable as well by sacrificing those points. And so that this sacrifice phase, or this phase to basically donate your coins and in the hope that you'll get coins back, but not a promise that you will. So I'll talk about that in a second too, because there's a little nuance there. But basically, when you sacrifice your coins, they say sacrifice because you're essentially donating them to this Ethereum address. Mainly hex is what people have been sacrificing. If you can't read the number here, right, there's been about $350 million sacrificed so far, which is a very large amount, and about 212 million of that has been hex so far. So $212 million worth of hex is out of circulation. And so that is one of the reasons for the price pumping up here as well. And then once we get towards the spring, a lot of hex stakes are no longer coming out as well. So I do expect hex, just in terms of price appreciation, to head towards $1 to $2 here in the first half of this year because of what's happening here on Pulse Chain. So that's pretty interesting. But going back to why would you send your profits on either Ethereum or Hex or whatever to a smart contract address? Well, basically, the way that it's talked about here is what you were said at the beginning of the stream, which is part of the reason why we're doing this topic for today. Because Richard Hart, he said if you sacrifice for Pulse Chain, you're basically doing a political statement for freedom of speech. And now, if you're sacrificing for PulseX, basically this is a sacrifice for freedom of movement and assembly. So he mentioned this here on the PulseX web, or on the PulseX Twitter, which is, the sacrifice is creating a set of people that believe for the freedom of movement and assembly, that these are protected human rights, and sacrifice by sacrificing, you are proving that you believe this and that this is true. And, he was showing the address here that you can send it to in order to do that. So, that's essentially the narrative around it. But what you're actually doing, right, is when PulseX does come out and Pulse Chain does come out, basically between I forget which day the Pulse Chain sacrifice started. It was around like the 28th or so of December, I believe. You basically get this rate of 10,000 sacrifice points per dollar sacrificed until the 10th. And then after the 10th, right, it basically increases so much in terms of you get, for each dollar sacrifice, you get less and less sacrifice points, therefore less PulseX. And so then you basically just got to wait until the Pulse chain becomes live to buy it on the open market. And the cool thing about PulseX is the supply will be absolutely limited. So there's not going to be more coins created. There is no inflation rate on PulseX in the future. So anybody who wants to provide liquidity to essentially the Uniswap of the Pulse chain, anybody who wants to provide liquidity will need to deal with PulseX. And so the only people that can buy that from are people who took part of this sacrifice phase. So essentially it's creating new whales in the new ecosystem.
Very interesting.
Yeah. And if we come over here, we can take a look at the actual addresses which have sacrificed for the Pulse chain ecosystem. You can go down here and see, there's over 32,000 wallets which have sacrificed. If you're in the top 100, you've sacrificed at least $350,000. The higher you are in ranking, the more points that you do get. Or sorry, not the more points, the more multiples you do get. So for example, this guy here, they're basically known as the God Whale in Hex. He's a Ethereum person who got in very early on Ethereum. I think sub $1 was where he first got into Ethereum, maybe around like 50, 60 cents. So he sacrificed $29 million in Ethereum for this, sacrifice for PulseX, because he wants to be, a whale in that ecosystem as well. And then you have, other pools putting in other sums of money here. So the first person or the top person who sacrifices will get 2.5x on the number of points that they get here. So you get 10,000 points per dollar plus, right? You get a multiple 2.5x there. Probably actually like more like a 2.49x, something like that. And then each one is like slightly less X's. So anybody here in the top 10 of sacrifices will probably get about like a 2.3, 2.4x on the points that they already have. So they'll have more tokens by having sacrificed more points. So it does pay to sacrifice larger and before the 10th of January, where that rate then increases and it becomes only the people who are getting in now will only have the tokens. And then anybody who wants to get in, let's say in April, around where the Pulse chain might launch, if anybody wants to get in, then they'll have to buy it from these people, essentially. So that limited supply and no inflation rate also will, because the Hex ecosystem has a lot of a very, very fervent community, as we know, and they're very focused on their ecosystem, and so there's going to be a lot of economic activity for the Pulse chain ecosystem as well. So, I think there will be more people who will be willing to come to Pulse chain outside from other ecosystems like Ethereum than maybe Hex, because, I think a lot of people didn't understand Hex at the very beginning. I was one of them for sure. And so, yeah, there's going to be a lot of people coming over to this and creating more economic activity here. I think there's a lot of people who are like, man, I missed Hex from the early days. Because if we go and we take a look at Hex, on the weekly chart back to like January of 2020, right? It's done ridiculous gains since then. And so a lot of people who are looking at Pulse are like, man, I want to get in like the early days of Hex. Obviously, Hex has gone up so much, I'm not early anymore. Well, this is that chance. And so I think there's a lot of people who get kind of bent out of shape about the politics within crypto, about people talking good or bad about different projects. And, some people like different leaders and not others. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. We're here to make gains, right? And so Hex has proven that over time, it's done very, very well. And so, Richard Hart's been very good at creating a solid tokenomics that's a positive feedback loop for anybody holding and getting early on in his ecosystems, holding the tokens related to his ecosystem and increasing these. So I would just say, this is definitely a bet that if you don't understand what this is, or if you don't really haven't been in Hex at least for a little bit of time, it's probably something that maybe you don't want to take too much part in or sacrifice too much money for on the hopes of like, having a big return. But here's the other thing, right? That's really important about this ecosystem is there are very few chances where you get to get into a coin from absolute zero or from the very beginning, right? I mean, how many times did we jump into a coin when it was worth absolutely zero, or we got a fork of a coin airdrop to us? I think, in the last bull market, we had Bitcoin Cash, right? If you had Bitcoin, you got airdropped, or not airdropped, but you got forked versions of Bitcoin Cash, but you didn't get it at zero. So this is very, very rare to happen in crypto. So it's one of these opportunities, at least, even if you don't sacrifice too much. Let's say you're just going to put in, hey, I'll put in $500 to see how it goes, and just pay attention to this ecosystem and how this is being built out, because it is kind of like all these, layer ones that we're talking about with Fantom and Luna and so forth. They're all different types of experiments here, and they're all trying like slightly different versions of similar things to reduce fees on Ethereum mainly, but then also to, spawn new economic ecosystems that have like slightly different versions, right? So I just highly recommend for people to pay attention to what's going on here, dig into it a little bit, try to figure out what it is, so that you can kind of see a new cryptocurrency and a new blockchain emerging from scratch, because A, you don't get that many opportunities to see it. B, you don't get that many opportunities to participate in it. And then C, if you learn something from this, then when you see something similar in the next bull market, right, you will know what's going on. And so the people who want to pay attention long-term in crypto, this is a huge learning opportunity, in my opinion, as well.
Definitely. It's looking good.
Yeah. So we'll be talking about that, this in more detail in the crypto mindset course. Obviously the sacrifice phase, where the best opportunity lies, will be over by the time we do the course. But we'll be, as new news comes out about Pulse Chain, we're the only course in the world talking about Pulse Chain and PulseX. So we'll be, we'll have a whole webinar dedicated to Hex itself, as we have since the course started in September of 2020. Every single course, we had a whole webinar dedicated to Hex. Then we'll also have a whole webinar dedicated to Pulse Chain, what's going on here, and what to expect going forward into the Q1 of this year.
So when are these coins supposed to be released?
So the date is undetermined, right? So people are just trying to guess, okay, when was the chain going to go live? It's always like, hey, can devs do something? Right? Or like like, oh, it's coming in 2 weeks. It's coming in 2 weeks. It's coming in 2 weeks. So it's one of those things where the test net is live. It went live, I believe, in September or early October. And then version 2 of the test net came out sometime in December. So you can actually go and Crypto Coffee had a pretty good video on how to play with the test net. So you can go make a Pulse, network, connect with the Pulse test network on your MetaMask. You get airdropped, test net tokens. They're not actual Pulse tokens, but you get airdropped those based on what you have in your wallet, and you can go and play around in there. It's really basic right now. There's not like the UI and stuff. They haven't, released yet and stuff like that, but they're already testing it out. So it's making progress, and it seems like around April, it seems to be the time that we're expecting this new blockchain to go live.
So let me see if I get this straight. You're telling me some guy gave $29 million to this project and he doesn't know when he's getting the coins?
That is correct. And so here's what usually happens with a new cryptocurrency, right? Usually what happens with a new cryptocurrency is they have what we call like a pre-seed launch, and then they have a seed launch, and then they have their launch, right? So the pre-seed launch works in the exact same fashion. So let's say there's a bunch of different projects, but I won't name any specifically, but let's say project A is just going to come out. So there's a founder and he says, hey, I'm going to first tell all my friends, like, hey, I just need to maybe make about $4 million on the initial stage, right? The early stage when only founders, developers, and family members and friends can get involved. And so for like something like Illuvium, which we talked about earlier, Roger Ver, right, was one person who was helping to support the Illuvium project. So him, the Warwick family, a few of their friends and some of their acquaintances got into Illuvium at the very early stage between like $1 to $3 or about $3. And now it's 1,000, right? And so they got in early because they're basically the VCs funding the coin from the beginning. Then you have a pre-seed round, right? The pre-seed round is essentially the next layer of the onion out, where people who know about the project maybe have some affiliation with it, but maybe not too deeply, and they get invited into there. Not too many people get involved in that, and so then they get Illuvium, let's say under $20, right? And then you have the public round where people can get in maybe around $50. So you can see here that the VCs and the people who are usually giving money to these crypto projects in the early stages to help get them going, right? They have an advantage because they get to buy it before it's on the open market, before the public can. And the public usually buys it at like a 50x times the very original price. Whereas here, this guy is giving $30 million here to get in from the ground floor and at the same level as everybody else. So there's no advantage here for the VCs there's this advantage in the 2.5x multiplier that the whales are going to get. So they do get more tokens than other people at the beginning because they did sacrifice more, but it is a fair launch in that sense that everybody gets in at the same time. And these other tokens, the other tokens, the way that they do it is, so if you get in those pre-seed rounds, right, your tokens are like a stock. They're vested over time. So when the token becomes live, you usually get like 5, 10, 15% of the tokens at the beginning, right? But then because they don't want you dumping that token, because you're going to get it at a 10, 50x when the public round comes, then you get those tokens vested over the course of 6 months or a year. So you don't get all your tokens at once either in most crypto projects. So whereas this, you'll get all of your tokens as soon as the chain launches.
Which is an undetermined date.
Correct. Which is the same as most of these crypto projects.
I get remnants of 2017 vibes, but I mean, he's already launched one successful project.
Yep. And it's one of these things where it's like, mainly I would encourage people to do this with profits if they're going to, right? If you've been in crypto for more than 6 months, you got some profits, just sacrifice some profits, right? Get involved. But if you're brand new to crypto, maybe just take like $500, sacrifice that, see what it's about, and learn about a new project and be able to see a new blockchain come out from scratch. So those are the two most valuable things, I think, is people can kind of take a little bit of a risk with their profits or just a little bit of a nibble with trying to learn about a new ecosystem from the ground floor, which, like I said before, people don't get that opportunity very often. So I don't know. I only say this because I do think it is a good opportunity. I wouldn't be talking about it otherwise. And so, I'm getting in. We got a bunch of guys, who have taken previous mindset courses who are getting in. And so I'm just trying to give people a little bit of a warning here. There's 4 days left to get in early on this chain. If you are interested in that, hashtag not financial advice. There's no promise of returns, all that jazz. But I do believe it's an interesting opportunity that's very unique in this market. So that's the only reason why I'm mentioning it. Before, basically, there's no chance to get in anymore until, the people who get in, let's say around April when the chain launches, let's say it launches in April. If they want to get PulseX tokens, they can only buy them from me. They can only buy them from whoever gets in, during this period. So they can't get them, just from inflation or new coins coming out after the fact. So which will only increase the price. Which is nice for people who are getting it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, getting in on a coin on ground zero when you already have a guy who has successfully launched one project and now he's, about to launch a second one. I mean, I trust this guy. I trust Richard Hart more than I trust Alex Mashinsky at this point.
Oh yeah. He's done a lot better for his community. Yeah.
Oh, fuck Mashinsky, bro. I hope Mashinsky's a piece of shit. So will be interesting to see how this plays out. I look forward to seeing what's going to happen here. Really look forward to seeing what's happening.
Yeah, and it is a huge experiment, right? So I think people need to take it with a huge grain of salt and ask a lot of questions. You should always. I always come to every single new project that I see in crypto with a massive grain of salt. I'm like, why is this not a scam? That's the first thing which I asked about Ethereum when I first got into Ethereum at $90 in 2017. I was like, why is Ethereum not a scam? Why am I not going to lose my money? Right. And then I got my first Forex on Ethereum within 2 months. And that's around the time that we met in the corporate gig and we went and listened to Vitalik speak and all that. Then once we got our first taste of games, we were like, holy shit, there's a lot that we have to learn about this space. And when we were listening to Roger speak, we were listening to Vitalik speak, in 2017, I didn't understand 90% of what they were saying, right? We had to take notes during that time. It was fun to be there. It kind of felt like, there's only like 100 people at that event. We were like, it's kind of like seeing like, Steve Jobs or something back in like the 70s, right? Like very early days, you can just kind of feel that vibe. And, crypto's still in that early stage. So, people who try to understand it, you're not going to understand it from the very beginning. It's going to be a lot of like this stuff is very confusing, but the more that you try to nibble away at it, I think I really respect the people who've taken multiple mindset courses because I can see the progression over the last 1 year. And I've actually seen this progression in my channel as well, with the level of discourse just continuing to increase as people, come in during this bull market. I think it was in 2017, most of my consults, they were all $75 for an hour, right? And, most of the questions that people would ask me is, why is Bitcoin not a scam? Why is it not going to zero? And why should I get into it? And Bitcoin was like, what, $5,000, right? And that was the majority of the questions at that time. Then obviously, as, we educated people throughout this bull market through our channels here in the Tokyo Crypto Show is basically the cornerstone of doing that via John's channel, Modern Life Dating, which everybody should go over who's on my channel right now and definitely go subscribe. This show is the cornerstone of basically everything that we've been educating people for getting into crypto. And we've made, like you said at the beginning of the show, people millions and millions of dollars. We're going to make even more people more millions of dollars this year. And so that's the main goal is, right, educating people. And so the level of discourse now, I think when I get a consultation, most of my consultations now are like, hey, here's my portfolio. What do you think of it? Also, very specific questions on like, how do I yield here? How to, is it worth getting into this liquidity pool token because I'll get more impermanent loss or stuff like this. And so we're starting to talk about, a lot more complex things here, both on our channels as well as within the consults, as well as within the courses, because, people pick up on this stuff pretty quick. And so I'm really happy to see that, people are learning here as the bull market continues, because in my opinion, cryptocurrency is the best place to be investing your money within this decade to see the most returns and to become independent.
Hands down.
Yeah.
Hands down. There's not even a competition. Like, seriously, what are you gonna do? Buy fucking gold? Remember those morons who used to call and be like, you need to buy gold, fuck Bitcoin.
Yeah. I just put your link in my
Well,
channel.
I think we'll claim it there then,
yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah, that's the link over to John's channel for anybody who wants to jump over there. Make sure you're subscribed to both channels. A couple small things, actually. There's a couple questions in the chat earlier in the show. One person had asked, I think, if I don't have any hex currently, like how do I get into the sacrifice? You can sacrifice anything that's an ERC20 token. So I think somebody there said they wanted to sacrifice their, Ethereum Classic, or you can sacrifice your WISE token, or you can sacrifice, your USDC, right? You don't even have to sacrifice. You can sacrifice just dollars. So as long as you have that on MetaMask, right, whatever you can hold on MetaMask, you'll be able to join that sacrifice. You just send it to that Ethereum address, and all the explanations of how to do so you can see through pulsechain.com. And if you want to learn more, you can go over to Richard Hart's Twitter and follow him there and learn more about what's happening through there, as well as obviously the crypto mindset course for learning how that goes once you've done so. The last thing, yeah, sacrifice sell. You can do that as well.
Move.
Were there any super chats that we missed? I wasn't quite sure if we missed anything else.
They're all. Let's see. Cody, sup guys? On Crypto Coffee recent stream, he said the bot that's gonna buy and burn PulseX will no longer be automated, thus creating need of admin keys. Is this true? I don't know.
So I would say right now, right, there's a lot of speculation going on, right? So Crypto Coffee has really good information when it comes to Hex and Pulse Chain. So take that with a grain of salt, though. We'll talk about this in the Crypto Mindset course. Obviously, we'll be talking about this through March as well once we get closer to, the release of the chain. Yeah, there's a lot of speculation. If you go over to a lot of the Hex channels, you'll pretty much just hear rampant speculation. And if it's not basically verified from Richard Hart, because he is the creator of the chain, then pretty much you can say it might be, it might not be, but we have yet to see. So you have to definitely double check all these sources right now via what Richard is saying. And he's not saying that much right now, to be honest, because they're building it all out. So yeah, there we go.
And Jerry, $20 super chat. Thanks for bringing Hex to my attention. The Q1 course. We are still early. Not a good look when you spell course incorrect, buddy. Just busting his balls.
So yeah, we can. I think that's pretty much everything.
We back?
Yeah, you're back. You've always been here.
Cut out. Government what? Government Wi-Fi. I blacked out on this end. Peter Maccini, $4.99 super chat. Is it possible to sacrifice sell sitting on unrealized losses and there's no way to deduct those losses in my country? Want to learn about new ecosystems? #NFA.
Yes, you can. So Celsius is an Ethereum-based token. So all you need to do is go to PulseX.com, basically there's PulseX.info as well. Here, let me actually pull that website up for people so I can show you.
Jerry can't spell. He spelled it correctly. Good job, Jerry. He's saving face there, buddy.
So when you go over to PulseX.com, can you see this screen?
Yes, here you go.
So when you go over to PulseX.com, up here in the top right, it says PulseX.info. You just click that. You'll come over here to the PulseX.info, right? And then you'll see the PulseX sacrifice is creating a set of people that believe freedom of movement and assembly and are protected human rights, which obviously John is experiencing the lack thereof right now. Sacrifice if you believe in this. And so what you do, right, you can say here, if you are sending the following networks: Ethereum, Binance Smart Chain, which is a fork of Ethereum, Polygon Matic, Avalanche, Ethereum Classic, or the Optimism version of Ethereum, you basically just copy this Ethereum address and you send it to there, right? And you can go, let's say, for example, right, you were this whale and you're like, okay, I sent to that address. That you can go and copy and put in your address, go over here to etherscan.io, throw that in there, right? And then say, yep, that's my wallet. And cool. All right. So you can see the current balance of that wallet. Pretty good amount of Ethereum in there. $217 million worth of Ethereum sitting in that wallet right now. And then you can go and see, okay, 777 Ethereum was sent to, and then you just go and check that address, assuming that was you sending it, right? 0x075E, right? You go over here, 0x075E. Okay, so he sent it 3 days and 16 hours ago, and it was out of his wallet into the correct Pulse Chain wallet. You can even go here and press the PulseX sacrifice wallet. You can see all the amounts sacrificed here. Just like 13 minutes ago, and so on and so forth. So you can go and check to make sure that whatever you've sent to this Ethereum address did go through by going over here and looking on Etherscan. Says, do not sacrifice directly from your exchange. You want to sacrifice only from a wallet that you have your private keys, right? So you can't sacrifice if your Celsius is on Celsius network, no go, right? On Celsius app, no go. You have to send that Celsius to your MetaMask, right? And then you sacrifice it from your own wallet that you have your private keys. That's essential because the airdrop or the money coming in for Pulse Chain to that wallet will only come in if you have the private keys. If you did it from a centralized exchange, Coinbase or Celsius or whatever are going to be able to claim your sacrifice tokens. So that's not good. Don't do that. And so if you're sending on the following networks, like Binance Chain, Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, you must have an address, right? So read all this stuff carefully, make sure. And if you really want to understand the tokenomics behind PulseX and why PulseX is pretty interesting, come over here to the PulseX.com website and you can see why it's designed to increase in value, right? I think Richard did tone this down clearly from his previous website, on a Hex in the early days, right, when he was talking about the promising of more gains, right? And then also you can come over here to the bottom here, and you can see, a lot of the benefits to it. So if you really want to understand it, there's not that much text on this page. You can basically read this entire page and then pulsex.info, and you got it. So I think that's the clearest way I can explain that to people who are trying to get in who might not understand the process.
Time to sacrifice themselves. You'll actually get a coin that does something. All right. Well, that's going to do it for us today, guys. We appreciate you. I should be getting out of this prison tomorrow, approximately 20 to 18 hours from now. So wish me luck. Shoot me an Instagram message, Hot Dude Life on Instagram. And be sure to hit that like, comment, subscribe. And until then.